Fidel Castro was one of the most important leaders in the history of Cuba. He was born in Cuba in 1926. He became famous for leading the Cuban Revolution in 1959. This revolution changed Cuba forever. Castro believed that the Cuban people needed a new government. He thought that the people should have control over their country, not just a few rich people. For many years, Cuba was ruled by a man named Fulgencio Batista. Batista was very rich, and he was supported by the United States. However, many people in Cuba were poor, and they did not like Batista's rule. Castro decided to do something about this. He started a movement to fight against Batista and bring change to Cuba. Castro was not alone in this fight. He had many supporters who believed in his vision of a better Cuba. One of his supporters was Che Guevara, an important figure in the revolution. In 1953, Castro and his followers attacked a military base called Moncada. However, this attack failed and Castro was arrested. He spent time in prison, but he did not give up on his dreams. In 1955, he was released from prison, and he went to Mexico. While in Mexico, Castro met Che Guevara and other important revolutionaries. Together, they planned how to return to Cuba and fight Batista again. In 1956, Castro and a group of revolutionaries sailed back to Cuba on a small boat called the Granma. They landed on the Cuban coast, but the Cuban army attacked them. Most of the revolutionaries were killed, but Castro and a few others managed to escape into the mountains. From there, they began to organize their fight against Batista. Over the next 2 years, Castro's army grew as more and more people joined the revolution. They fought many battles, and their numbers continued to grow. In 1959, Batista finally left Cuba and went into exile. The Cuban Revolution was a success. Castro became the leader of Cuba. He promised to make Cuba a better place for all the people, especially the poor. He started many changes in the country. One of the first things he did was to take over the land from the rich landowners. He gave this land to the people so they could use it for farming. He also made healthcare and education free for everyone in Cuba. These changes helped many people, especially the poor and the working class. However, not everyone agreed with Castro's ideas. Many people in Cuba and around the world did not like the changes he made. The United States, for example, did not like the fact that Cuba had become a communist country. In 1961, the United States tried to stop Castro by supporting a group of Cuban exiles who tried to invade Cuba. This invasion, called the Bay of Pigs invasion, failed. Castro's army easily defeated the invaders. After this, Castro became even more determined to defend Cuba from outside attacks. He turned to the Soviet Union for help. The Soviet Union was a communist country, and it supported Castro's government. In 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis happened. The Soviet Union secretly placed nuclear missiles in Cuba. The United States discovered this and was very angry. For several days, the world was on the brink of war. Luckily, the United States and the Soviet Union came to an agreement, and the missiles were removed. After this, Castro remained the leader of Cuba for many years. He made many more changes in the country. He focused on improving education, healthcare, and social services for the people. However, not everything in Cuba was perfect. Many people did not have enough food or resources. The Cuban economy struggled, and many people left Cuba for the United States. Throughout his time in power, Castro faced many challenges. Despite this, he remained committed to his ideas. He ruled Cuba for nearly 50 years. In 2006, Castro stepped down from power due to health problems. His brother, Raúl Castro, took over as the leader of Cuba. Fidel Castro passed away in 2016 at the age of 90. Even after his death, people continue to talk about his life and his role in Cuban history. Some people remember him as a hero who fought for the poor. Others remember him as a dictator who limited freedoms. Whatever people think of him, Fidel Castro was a powerful figure who changed Cuba forever. Castro's leadership of Cuba was marked by both success and failure. Many of the changes he made to the country were very important. For example, his government provided free education for all Cubans, and the country's literacy rate improved greatly. Cuba also became a leader in healthcare. Castro's government sent doctors to poor countries to help people in need. These were positive aspects of his rule that many people admired. On the other hand, some of the policies he put in place were harsh. He limited the freedom of the press, and people who spoke out against his government were often imprisoned. The Cuban people had to follow strict rules, and there were few freedoms for them. Many Cuban people lived under difficult conditions. There were shortages of food, goods, and other necessary items. Castro's government made it difficult for people to leave the country, which caused many to try to escape by sea. Many people also risked their lives to make it to the United States. Despite the hardships, many people in Cuba continued to support Castro. They believed that the changes he made were necessary for the country's development. However, other people disagreed. They thought that Castro's leadership had harmed the country. They believed that Cuba would have been better off with a different kind of government. The debate over Fidel Castro's legacy continues today. While some view him as a hero who stood up to the United States and helped the poor, others see him as a dictator who harmed his own people. Cuba has changed since Castro stepped down, but his influence on the country remains significant. Today, many people around the world study Castro's life and his impact on history. His name will always be linked to the Cuban Revolution and the changes he made to Cuba. Castro's ideas were very important to the people who supported him. Even after his death, his ideas and his legacy continue to affect Cuba and the world. Some people still admire him for his courage and his fight against injustice. Others continue to criticize him for the hardships and limitations he brought to Cuba. Whatever people believe, Fidel Castro will always be remembered as one of the most important leaders in Cuban history. His story is one of struggle, change, and revolution. He fought for what he believed in, and his actions changed the course of Cuban history forever.